Alright, in this video we are going to learn how to solve the quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. In the previous video we learned how to solve the quadratic equation using the factorization method. In that method we used to have certain equation like 5x squared plus 6x plus 7. It's just a random equation and we used to get two factors and we used to get two answers through each of these brackets. But there are some types of quadratic equation. There are some equations which cannot be solved using the factorization method. Like for example, I can give you one equation. Let's have x squared plus 8x plus 6 equals to 0. We learn in the factorization method that we take the LCM of this constant term and see for the multiples and see for prime factors how can they add up and make this term. For 6 we get 2 times 3 and 3 times 1. We get two terms, 2 and 3. 2 and 3. There is no way we can add or subtract or in any way we cannot add or subtract 2 and 3 and get an 8. So it's not possible to solve this quadratic equation using the factorization method, even though it has two answers. And we can know that it has two answers by using the discriminant. It's not the scope of this video. You can watch the other video, roots of quadratic equation. Its link is in the description below, and the link for the factorization method for solving the quadratic equation is also in the description below. Okay, let's solve the quadratic formula. Quadratic formula, this is quadratic formula. Minus b plus minus b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. This whole divided by 2a. Okay, what's b, what's a, what's c? This term. In this case, x is alone, so it has 1, and 1 is a, and here 8 corresponds to b, so 8 is b and c 6 is c. So we just put all the terms, these terms, not the x's, all these terms in this formula and we get two answers. Let's just try it. And we have to take care of the signs. We need to take care of the signs to get everything correct. Okay, so let's start with this formula. We have a minus sign here, and then we have to write a b. It's our b, this is our a, and this is our c. Our b is a. We need to include the signs as well. Like we have a positive 8 over here. Like if we had a negative 8, this negative would become positive. But here we have a positive 8, so negative positive is again negative. So we have negative 8 plus minus. We'll see why it's plus minus at the same time later in this video. Okay, so plus minus under root, we have b squared, 8 squared, minus 4 times a is 1. And what is c? We have c as 6. Okay, and divided by 2 times 8. 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, let's move on and let's clean it up a bit. 8 squared is 64 minus 4 times 1 is 4, and then again 4 times 6 is 24 divided by 2. Okay, now when we move on, we get a plus minus under root. 64 minus 24, we get a 40. Made that too long for it. And this divided by 2. Okay, so we are almost near the answer. Okay, so we can divide 8 by 2 and have a plus minus under root 40 divided by 2. This becomes 4. 4 plus minus under root 40 divided by 2. We can see what under root 40 is. We can take LCM of 40 and see if we can take something out of it. Let's do it. 2 times 20, 2 times 10, 2 times 5, and 5 times 1. Our factors are 5. Okay, so here we have a square term. So we can take out 2, and in the bracket we can have a 10. So it becomes 4 plus minus 2 times 5 is 10. 10 divided by 2. This cancel out. So finally we have this 4 plus minus under root 10. This plus minus means our answer. I'll just erase something. No, I can't. I have to tell you everything from each of this. So let's just have it. This means that I'm just writing it over here. This means that our answer is 4 plus under root 10, and we have our another answer is, I'll just write it in brackets. These are not multiplying, and another answer is 4 minus under root 10. Like we have 2 answers, so these are the 2 roots. If you know what I did till here and you got confused over here, I'll suggest that you watch my video of what the factorization look like and the rules of indices search. There are separate videos for it. You can find their link in the description below. Even this answer is correct. Like you can write the answer in this form as well. We just simplified it more, and it's just simple arithmetic. So the basic theme of this video was to teach you how to use the quadratic formula, how to use this formula, and from here we need to just learn how to simplify it. You need practice to get through it. Okay, now let's solve another example of it so that we can grip this topic. Okay, so here we have x squared plus 5x plus 5. We know that when we take LCM of 5, we get 5 times 1 is 5. So, and 1 times 1 is 1. So there is no way we can add 5 and 1 or subtract 5 and 1 and get a 5. So we don't have anything else to, like we cannot add or subtract 5 and 1 and get a 5 over here. So we know that we cannot use the factorization method anyway. So we will use the quadratic formula. Here let's label our A, B's and C's. This is A, this is 5 is B, and this is C. When there is nothing, there is 1. Okay, so let's apply the quadratic formula. We have minus B, which is minus 5, which is plus minus under root. B squared is 5 times 5 squared is 25, minus 4. Then A is 1, and our C is also 5. See, 2 times 1 is 2. I'll just won't write 1 again. Okay, so here we have minus 5 plus minus under root 25 minus 4 times 5 is 20. 5 minus 20 divided by 2. Okay, here we have minus 5 plus minus, this is 5 divided by 2. Okay, I guess this is it. We cannot simplify it any further. We can just divide it into, write one answer in the with the positive sign and one with the negative sign. Let's do it. Minus 5 plus under root 5 whole divided by 2, and minus 5 minus under root 5 divided by 2. That's it. How do we got 2 answers? There was no way we could have got these answers using the factorization method. And one more thing that we can find, there are, like, if a question can be solved with the factorization method, it can also be solved with the quadratic formula. Quadratic formula works with every quadratic equation. It's the master key for the quadratic equation. Every equation can be solved using this. Okay, let's have some question to prove it. Let's do one question we did in the previous video using the quadratic formula. we had x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals to 0. Here's 6. When we take LCM of 6, we get 2 and 3. We get 2 and 3. So 2 times minus 2 plus minus 3, we get minus 2 minus 3, we get minus 5. So yes, we can solve it using the factorization method, and you can check the video. Its link is in the description below. Its answers were 2 and 3. Now let's solve them. Let's solve this using the quadratic formula. Solving with the quadratic formula, we have this minus b is, here we have a negative sign, so negative 5, it becomes a positive 5. This becomes a positive 5. I'll just write it as positive 5 plus minus minus 5 squared, it becomes positive 25. I'll just write it in the next step. Times 4 times a is 1 and c is 6. I just didn't write 1 again. We have 2a. A is 1. I didn't write it again. So if we have 5 plus minus, we have 5 squared is 25 minus 4 times 6 is 24 divided by 2. Okay, so now we have this 5 plus minus under root 1 divided by 2. Under root 1 is equal to 1, so it's actually 5 plus minus 1 divided by 2. Okay, so it splits up in two terms, 5 plus 1 divided by 2 and 5 minus 1 divided by 2. Okay, so we get 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 5 minus 1 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. As I said before, we'll get two answers, 3 and 2, which we got. You can check in that video as well. These were the answers, 2 and 3. So the quadratic formula is the master key for the quadratic equation. We can solve it, all the quadratic equations, using this formula. This formula works every time. Okay, that's it for this video. I hope you get how to use the quadratic formula, and see you next time.